All right, good afternoon. Welcome to another BowmanWebServices.com video. Today's video is about the VA dental program and community care. And so I want to take a second and wanted to squarely kick this group of people in the nutsack because honestly, I'm telling you, they have failed and they have caused all kinds of chaos. And so let me just take a second. And I know some of you are like, well, the tooth thing is not really, something that's that important. But no, the truth is, Agent Orange is a cause of diabetes too. And diabetes two is a leading cause of gum disease and dental deterioration. And so, yes, this is an interconnected, related thing. And yeah, it could very well be diet also, but the two together, and honestly, my father's been suffering of this diabetes thing for the majority of his adult life. And really, the VA did zilch for these Navy vets that have been suffering, and they've been suffering horribly. And I want to tell you exactly what our experience has been with community care. And so, community care just straight up failed us. And honestly, ultimately, it cost us out of pocket over $10,000. And ultimately, my father almost, I would say his health deteriorated because he lost 20 something pounds, 25 pounds worth of weight, all while being on a very nasty, very beneficial, let's say, cancer medication called Xtandi. And honestly, that has definitely prolonged his life. And so I don't want to knock that Xtandi thing because ultimately that's one of those drugs the VA does not cover, and it's done through some special program. And ultimately, shame on you guys. Really, the VA totally cut off his PSA test. Right at the age of 70, never once told him anything about it. His VA doctor up there definitely, went and prescribed him prostate medication, and then like a year later doubled it and never did any kind of testing for cancer. And so by the time he actually got around to, and I do mean got around to, the VA just eventually gets around to things if you piss and moan enough. It got around to it and ultimately found that he had stage 3 cancer. And it's already to the point where they really can't treat it outside of try to slow it down with this Xtandi stuff. And so ultimately, I hold the VA up here in Daytona Beach responsible for ultimately the murder of my father, which I'm gonna say because he ultimately should have lived like an extra 10 years, and ultimately he is still alive, still walking around, but he does not have the things that he really should have as a veteran that has suffered this kind of loss, and ultimately his golden years have been totally ruined because of chemicals that our country dumped over top of its own soldiers, and it got into the water and everything, and ultimately poisoned him and what hundreds of thousands of other veterans. You guys deserve better. You straight up deserve better. And honestly, we're just gonna I'm gonna write this article, and ultimately I'm gonna reach out again. And if you are a veteran, please like, share, follow, put your story down in writing. And honestly, especially if it has something to do with the dental program here with the VA. And honestly, I don't care where you are in the country. It's got to be just as bad as where you are, as where we are. Honestly, we're in a brand new $60 million facility, and they're still using community care. They got more rooms worth of dental space inside this building, and they just don't have dentists. They haven't hired dentists or, whatever they haven't done. They just haven't done. And ultimately, what really upsets me is this whole ordeal was over 2.5 years. 2.5 years of our lives playing games with the VA, honestly, going back and forth. And honestly, my father would have never, ever started down this path. He still had some good teeth, top and bottom. And ultimately, he would have just kept struggling along like he'd always done. And ultimately, that dental guy up there in the VA at Daytona Beach talked him into getting this done, and under the condition that he was going to get implants. And so ultimately, when it all got said and done, we went through all this headache. Honestly, I didn't know who to blame. At some point, I got really involved in the thing, and I really called out. And there's two people here at Daytona Beach, actually one in Orange City, but here in our side of Florida, right? It's Lifetime Dentistry of Port Orange and Central Florida Oral Maxillofacial Surgery. That's a heck of a thing. And ultimately, both of these two services are what I call leeches inside the Daytona VA system or inside the VA system. I'm sure they're probably getting stuff from Orlando too. And ultimately, these are two companies I do not recommend at all. Lifetime Dentistry, I don't care where you are. I know you're a chain of dentists. You will never get business from me. You have such a bad taste in our family's mouth. Uh, we don't believe in you. We don't trust you. And ultimately, when I filed complaints against this lady here, the lady dentist that bought into your little system, she straight up, got upset with me, like I didn't have the right to get upset. And ultimately, um, sorry, I gotta check that. Get that stop beeping. Ultimately, she got upset and called us in, had a little private, little personal meeting with us. They showed us a stack of papers that they had for the VA that was 750 pages deep. And said they said she blamed it all off on the VA. The VA is the one holding everything up. But honestly, my father went and got his teeth pulled, and so he was told sent to get all his teeth pulled. Instead, when he got up to the malofacial people, they pulled just the top ones, right? And they pulled certain ones on the bottom, and ultimately they were like, no, you don't want to pull them all out because that guy sat there and said that veterans are not getting the services that they're claiming, and ultimately that he would end up with two floating dentures that'd be like the lowest bidder kind of crap, and ultimately he would be extremely, it would be extremely unhelpful, and that he needed to keep some of his lower teeth, and ultimately the whole thing's just been a mess. It's been a serious mess. And ultimately, we went back and forth. He had that temporary denture in his mouth for a year and a half before we finally, almost a year and 3/4, before we finally hired a company called Bevel Dentist, who is not a part of the VA system. And I hope they never are, because honestly, that would ruin this little company. Honestly, if you're Bevel Dentistry, please do not get involved with the VA. Don't even think about it. That is one crappy ass system they've got there. And ultimately, if you're a veteran, you should be upset. You should be upset that this type of stuff happens to your brothers and sisters because this is not acceptable. And honestly, bevel dentistry, that was an expensive road we went down with you guys. 10 grand, all right, worth of expensive. And ultimately absolutely necessary because he was losing weight. He was going to really, he was not able to eat solid food for almost 2 years. That is unacceptable. Honestly, how many veterans out there, if you're a veteran out there and you've run into the same exact kind of crap, I need to hear from you. You need to write your story down. Honestly, there's things called Notebook LM. That little service, just go to that, just type that into Google. You can go there, you can write your story, you can post your story into that. It'll make a little podcast, it'll help you take notes, it'll put timelines up. And ultimately, if you're a veteran that's like this disabled, 100%, 20%, 20%, 100%, 20%, 10 and 60, honestly, you deserve something more. Honestly, at the end of the day, you should be having all kinds of handy crap equipment. They should be preparing you for what's about to come. What's about to go down here in our family's life is my father's going to end up losing his ability to walk. We really all we've gotten from the VA is a bunch of delays and BS and three handicap bars. Honestly, I was just out there this morning. I'm prepping the front to put in some kind of ramp, and it won't be they did send somebody out to think about doing a ramp, but ultimately no, I'm gonna have to put in my own ramp. It's gonna be a little steeper than what it should be by law or by whatever they recommend. But at the end of the day, we need a ramp. We need a ramp. It's literally 18 or 20 inches. I cannot carry the man in the front door if I need to do that. All right. We need a ramp. We need the handicap vehicle that really was kind of promised to these veterans. And honestly, consider he's this disabled, why it was even denied in the first place. Shame on you guys. Really, shame on you. And so if you're a vet that's literally been run through the muck with especially the dental thing, and if you've been run through the muck at all, definitely like, share, pass this on to another veteran. I need as many people to follow this thing as possible. Send this off to Elon because we love Elon to give us a little bump. Let's make sure that we include the man. This is the man we're after right here. I want to hear from VA Secretary Doug Collins. And in order to get a hold of him, you really got to like put this type of stuff. If you're trying to get somebody to take action, there is a group of people. Let's just pull it here right now. It's going to be these groups of people, right? Him, and I got Elon. So I'm going to start putting this into all my posts to try to get some action. You know, it's got to change, guys. We need something to really fall into place and fall into place quickly. I do not want to be, making videos from my father's deathbed. Right? I will kid you not. I'll put him on tape. You don't want me out here putting him on tape, guys. Um, A, that'll break my heart. B, I will be an enemy of the VA the rest of my days. I kid you not. I totally fed up with their system. I'm totally fed up with all the failures and all the excuses and all the fraud that everybody keeps talking about. And sir, Mr. Collins, I know it's a crappy job. Whoever you want to blame it on, the old administration, etc., etc. But time for that has passed. It's time to start signing some paperwork, Mr. Trump, sir. Time to start empowering this guy, give him what he needs. Honestly, something's got to be done. Something's got to be done before it's too late. I'm reaching out. We still have time. He's still walking around. But ultimately, he literally has to climb steps every time he goes into here or his girlfriend's house, which is right down the street. She has 4 steps going into her house, and hers is like, my goodness, it's a 2.5 foot rise. And so, you know what? Something's got to be done, guys. We cannot abandon these veterans this way and leave them without basic services. And especially when it comes to this dental care thing, definitely type 2 diabetes is one of those leading things that ultimately has led to his problem here. And then ultimately, that dentist over there, honestly, I'd get rid of him in a heartbeat. Right? Get rid of him. Put some real dentists in over there. And honestly, the guy's become a fixture. He straight up, told us your father was going to get implants. My father would not have moved forward. All right. He even had him he put shots into his jaw when the day that he got his teeth yanked, the prep for these pins that they were going to put in for these permanents. And ultimately, when we finally started complaining to Lifetime Dentistry and they blamed it all off onto, the VA, I went up there and complained at the VA too. And I was warned, like, you're going to be labeled a troublemaker, Tom. Well, label me a troublemaker. I'm okay with that. But you're not going to silence me, or anybody that I will voice up for, and I will voice up for any veteran out there. Reach out. But I want you to know that dentist up there, he needs to go. I think he needs to go. Honestly, he pretty much told us that he just tells veterans what they want to hear, just to get them off of his little docket. So he's got too many people apparently to serve, and ultimately, he's a bad man. I don't appreciate what he's done to my family, and ultimately, um, he owes he owes us veterans more. I don't know if he's actually a veteran himself, but honestly, why don't we find some dentists that are actually veterans and give them, 1.5 times their salary or whatever they want, and bring them into this $60 million facility you guys got up here and actually start using it properly. Anyway, that's my whining. I apologize for my tonality again. Always get myself worked up when I make these videos. But definitely hop on over here to my Twitter, my X. I'm sorry, Elon. I said the T word again. Damn it. X. Ah. All right. And have a look at things about the vehicle program and this, that, and the other thing. And I'll imagine there'll be 100 videos here before I really get too far down the rabbit hole here. But honestly, if you got a second, drop this video over to VA Secretary Doug Collins. Doug, give me a call, man. I'd like to work it out with you. Honestly, my father deserves better, and so do the hundreds of thousands of other veterans out here who have been suffering without the proper care that they were promised uh, due to their honorable service to this country. All right, thanks for stopping by, Bowman Web Services. Um, Thanks for listening to my rant. Have a great day.